So the first show I did was the Tennessee post-game show. And that was such a weird post-game show because I remember I originally set the time for this game, for the live stream after the game, and I kept having to move it back. Okay, I move it back 15 minutes, then move it back another 15, then we go to overtime, move back another 30 minutes, and finally able to do it, and a heartbreaking loss that the Gators ended up suffering there. But this year, 2025, Tennessee is going to be traveling to the Swamp with what I think is a pretty clearly worse roster, offensively and defensively, than what they had last year. Here, I'll pull up the Tennessee offense right here. We'll break down Florida's defense versus that Tennessee offense. What is the one name on this offense that really stands out to you?
I mean, we're going to start at the guy who's not here, right? That's
fair.
As good a place to start as any. I mean, Nico Iamaleava is not the quarterback at Tennessee anymore. Obviously, you all know what happened, and now we're looking at Joey Aguilar, and I'm not super enthused about it, if I'm being honest with you. It doesn't really inspire me much.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, you lose Nico, who I don't think Nico was particularly a good fit for the Tennessee offense.
Probably not.
However, I think he's a safer fit than what they're going to have with the Joey Aguilar, who threw 14 picks in the Sun Belt last year.
Yeah, he wasn't that good. He had his moments.
He was good the year before.
Yeah. Oof, I don't know, man. This is a weird spot for this team. Because it's I don't think they're going to be awful. I think that is the one thing Heupel's done a pretty good job of is raise the floor here pretty significantly. But
I think the schedule helps.
The schedule probably helps too. What's their toughest non-conference game is Syracuse, which that's probably not going to be a very good Syracuse team this year. We'll see. But man, it's everything that they succeeded with last year is kind of gone. I mean, you lose Dylan Sampson, which really it was the heart of this team last year, the run game.
He was the SEC Offensive Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, for as much talk as there is about the spread passing game in the Tennessee offense, it really is a offense that tries to set up the run, and that's exactly what it did last year. And I don't really worry about the running backs. I think Deshaun Bishop coming back. I think Star Thomas, a good transfer from Duke. I think those guys are fine. Offensive line loses quite a bit, though. That from an offensive line that was good, but not quite as good last year, maybe as people thought it was going to be. So it's I don't know. It's what is the selling point here on this offense right now?
And I think it's also worth noting, I'm pretty sure I've heard injury news about Mike Matthews and Chris Brazzell, the two wide receiver. I mean, I also want to point out something here. Wide receiver Y, the backup Boo Carter. That's a very interesting thing right there. Him also being the starting nickelback. It was pretty good at nickelback last year as a true freshman. So I don't know if that's a knock on him or them just putting him there because he wants to play there. There's all the transfer stuff and him sitting out the year end, which still could happen. I mean, say Tennessee loses to Syracuse.
I mean, they won't, but okay, we could pretend.
I don't know if it's that unlikely.
I think Syracuse is going to be pretty bad. I think Syracuse is a losing record team this year.
I really like Fran Brown as a coach.
I do too.
They lost a lot. From
the roster's just not there. It's just not there this year, in my opinion.
Say Tennessee, they lose to Syracuse, they beat East Tennessee State. Then they host Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Which
that game's. I forgot that game's early again this year.
Yeah, week 3.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say they can't beat Georgia at home, but I'm gonna say they cannot beat Georgia at home.
That's a tough spot.
Fall apart there. I mean,
game. Yeah.
That Syracuse game, if they lose that game, it could get real bad though, because they have an easy schedule after that. Because then it's UAB at Mississippi State. If you want to go on the road to any SEC team, it's Mississippi State. Hosting Arkansas, which could be tricky right there. And then they go to Bama. But then at Kentucky. Hosting Oklahoma. I'm not too high in Oklahoma. Then New Mexico State. At Florida. And they host Vanderbilt. If Florida had this schedule, let's just go through it real quickly. Florida's beating Syracuse.
Yeah.
Pretty easily. Then East Tennessee State are beating pretty easily. Then Georgia. are we hosting Georgia? Is that how we're going to look at this?
I guess.
For Tennessee's schedule? Like, I have us beating them on a neutral, so I would obviously pick us to win at home.
Mm-hmm.
But, you can say whatever you want. And then hosting UAB, that's a win. Going to Mississippi State, that's a win. Hosting Arkansas, that's a win. And then going to Bama, we'll say that's a loss.
That's an L. I'd have that as an L if we had to play at Bama right now. I would chalk that down as an L.
We'll see how the QB play is. And at Kentucky, we do play, but we have that as a win. Hosting Oklahoma, I'd have that as a win. And then, hosting New Mexico State, that's a win. Then are we flipping it at Tennessee or a team on our level? Are we going to a team on our level instead of them going to, because they play us? Like, how do you look at that?
I'd say just like imagine Florida having to play a Florida caliber team. Like, just to pretend in your head it's like
a 50-50 matchup.
Yeah, pretend in your head it's like LSU, or I don't know how you view LSU exactly, but like
I think
someone like that. Someone like that.
And then hosting Vanderbilt, I'm easily picking 10-2 at worst. 9-3 at worst. I'd probably even say 11-1 with that schedule.
Yeah. Which is why I don't really think this is going to ever get to like a disaster situation in Tennessee this year. I think this is like an 8-4 team. Like, I feel this is like the most 8. This team just screams 8-4 to me.
Yeah. I think something interesting here, the offensive line is pretty interesting. So I remember going into the Florida game, and during the Florida game, Lance, isn't it Zalance or?
He's gone by Lance. He was Zalance as a recruit, but he goes by Lance.
So Lance Hurd, if you remember going into that Florida game, he had a horrible Arkansas game. Like, he had really struggled, and he struggled in the Florida game. Like, they were really high on their offensive line last year, and besides Lance Hurd. I don't know how much he's improved since that game, but, returning for another year, former 5-star. So maybe get some credit there. Sam Pendleton, another former top 100 recruit, Notre Dame transfer. He was starting for Notre Dame at points of last year.
Mm-hmm. Good, very good offensive line. Very good Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the center. William was that Satterwhite or Max Anderson. I don't know if that's a done deal or whatnot because both are redshirt freshmen. Wendell Moe is someone who I talked to one of my buddies does draft scouting and everything, and he's really high on Wendell Moe as a pass blocker, but his run blocking is where you get questionable. Mm-hmm. And then 5-star true freshman David Sanders. Like, starting a true freshman, maybe he's a 5-star and all, but true freshman offensive lineman, we'll see how that works out. So I see the potential with this offensive line, but I could also see where it falls off. You also look, they only have 2 players listed for every single spot, and they're all sophomore, freshman, sophomore.
Yeah, it's scary.
So that depth is probably a pretty big issue if even the starters are good.
At least it's talented, but you are relying on a ton of young players, a ton of transfer. An offensive line that's built this way just scares the hell out of me, to be honest with you. Like, this is just like not. I don't know. I remain extremely skeptical of transfer built offensive lines. And I just think it's, even for elite recruits, I think it's very hard to play day one at tackle in the SEC. Will Campbell and Emory Jones basically from LSU have done it. It's possible you can, but
it's possible.
It's hard. So, and then you kind of mentioned it earlier, talking about the receivers. Like, this is where this team has downgraded pretty significantly since it had an offense that was the best in the country. Hendon Hooker on his way to winning the Heisman Trophy before he tore his ACL.
Yep.
Like, they don't have those guys anymore.
They had a Biletnikoff winner and Jalen Hyatt.
Yeah, exactly. And then Brew McCoy, kind of one of those guys, didn't really ever live up to it. He's gone now. And then so is Squirrel White. Squirrel White's at FSU, isn't he?
Apparently he's not even starting at FSU.
Oof.
Which is the wild part.
Oof. But yeah, so they've lost like a couple guys from that team that already, I think, were kind of underwhelming last year. Mm-hmm. Like, again, it's not horrific. There's not like a clear, like, this is a massive area of weakness here, but there's nothing on this offense that looks particularly threatening to me other than maybe the running backs. But again, I think that offensive line is questionable.
Yeah, I'm looking at Florida's depth chart to go back to the offensive line, and left tackle, I don't know. Maybe this is an issue with our lads. I could go look at Tennessee's actual roster, and maybe they have more offensive linemen there, but I look at ours on our lads, and 3 left tackles, 4 left guards, 3 centers, 4 right guards, 3 right tackles.
Yeah.
Like, we have a bunch of players there and good depth on. Like, we have really good depth when I'm comparing it now to Tennessee. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, even underrated a bit. Like, it's
say
a really big question.
Our lads with depth can be a little janky.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily treat that as gospel, but
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they're already expected according to this to play a redshirt freshman at center, a true freshman at right tackle, like you can't have tremendous depth. If you're relying on 2 freshmen and 2 transfers, you probably don't have like insane depth there.
No. And then, I mean, the receiver core, like Mike Matthews was someone who they needed to step up last year who didn't. I mean, maybe you can blame it on Nico, whatever, but he didn't step up. And now there's the injury talks. And Chris Brazzell is someone who I'm pretty high. He's a good receiver. And there's also, I'm pretty sure the injury talks about him. And it's like, is there any other receiver? I mean, Boo Carter's that type of athlete. Maybe he could do something. But if outside of those 2 guys, do you even question any of these other receivers?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like super super exciting there.
No.
I mean, if you're looking at like the depth, I mean, Amari Jefferson is an Alabama transfer, but was he even how highly rated was he as a recruit? I don't really remember.
Amari Jefferson.
He's listed there under receiver depth.
Oh.
I'm trying to figure out where he was as a recruit. He's an Alabama transfer, but I don't know if he was a big time recruit.
Here, I got it.
I'm just curious if that's even. No, he was like barely.
212.
He was. Yeah, so doesn't really not like a guy who was a top 100 guy and redshirted last year. No. So yeah, it's like there's nothing super exciting here. I mean, like you said, it's like Brazil is like the guy, but there's not really much else. So
no.
And then you pair that with, maybe inefficient quarterback play. It's kind of been a struggle for Joey Aguilar. I mean, I think you're going to see an intriguing run game because I do like the running backs. And I think Aguilar gives you that kind of some of that ability that Nico didn't really, or at least didn't try to.
Is Aguilar still on the field when, like, not injury, but is Aguilar still starting when they get to the Florida game?
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's been an open battle with Merklinger, who's a redshirt freshman, I believe, and George McIntyre, who's a true freshman that just got there. I mean, it sounds from what I've heard, I don't think Tennessee's actually named a starter yet. It sounds like Aguilar's pretty definitively pulling away from what I've heard. So I don't know like how close Merklinger is. I don't know how tight, like how short of a leash they're going to have Joey Aguilar on. So, I mean, I think obviously any situation like this where it's like a stopgap transfer and some young guys, like if there's any struggle at all, you're probably going to pivot to one of the younger guys. So I think that's a consideration, but it seems to me like Aguilar is the one who's had the best fall from what I've heard.
Yeah, I'm just not expecting too much. I mean, the running backs could be good. I liked Star Thompson last year at Duke. He was a pretty fun player to watch. Just someone that doesn't really do anything spectacular, but he's tough to tackle.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Deshaun Bishop, almost 500 yards, 6 yards a carry. Like he was a good play. So, I mean, I think if the offensive line is solid, which is a question mark, but if it is, I think they're going to have a really good run game again. Maybe not Dylan Sampson rushing for 1,500 yards and 22 touchdowns. Good, but
Peyton Lewis also had 339 rush yards on 5%. Like, they got some experience there that could be pretty good.
Yeah, no doubt. But beyond that, again, it's like they had that last year. It was good enough to get them to the CFP, but not much. They were pretty underperformed there. Not an incredible season overall. And it's like they had that with Dylan Sampson. It's like, what do they have this year that's going to keep them there or elevate in any way? I don't really see it.
Yep. Yeah. But let's get into their defense here. Maybe somewhere we'll have a bit more confidence. I mean, not many transfers here. Like, I like how they're returning or keeping their own players, but they lost
James
edge
Pierce
rusher James Pierce. Yeah, they lose James Pierce, but they return Jermod McCoy, projected
one of the best
first
players
round
in
pick.
the country. Yeah,
one of the best DBs. Corners.
Yeah.
But outside of that, Tyree West at defensive end, like 2 sacks last year. Not much there. Bryson Eason, 1.5 sacks. David Hobbs 1 sack, and Joshua Joseph's 1.5 sacks. Is there a pass rush on this team that scares you at all?
Not particularly. No, I wouldn't really say so. I think the back 7 or whatever of this defense is certainly the strength this year, which makes sense with what they lost up front. But I think it's pretty strong beyond that, because I mean, like, Arian Carter at linebacker leading tackler last year. So, you know, you definitely I definitely would say in that linebacker and DB core, there's a lot that would worry me. But up front, not so much. Like, I think Florida's offensive line versus this front 4, if everyone's healthy, like, I think that's a pretty clear advantage, Florida.
Yep, absolutely. And then, the secondary, I mean, really headlined by Jermon McCoy, and if he's playing for him, Boo Carter, who was a standout freshman last year, and they lost their safety to Miami. What was his name? I can't remember his.
I can't either. I know exactly what you're talking about. I can't remember his name. We talked about him like 3 weeks ago, but I can't remember the other safeties.
Caleb Beasley, nothing really. I mean, 4 tackles total, and Andre Turrentine is a pretty good player, if I'm not mistaken, last year. 37 total tackles, 1 interception, 3 pass deflections. So, former Ohio State transfers. That's a decent player right there. But honestly, the safeties, and I mean, their other corner had 5 pass deflections, 32 tackles. So, the corners and nickelback, pretty good returning players, but the safeties could be a big issue there for Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question. I mean, I think this defense, I think last year the defense was good, maybe not quite as good as people acted like it was at points.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's fair.
But I think this should be the strength of the team. Certainly, I mean, I would say the strength of the team is the back half of the defense. I think, or the back, whatever, the back 2/3 of the defense. I think that is where I'm not really worried about this team. Like, that's kind of where it just all feels very average. It's like nothing offensive on offense, but no real game changers. A defense that has a couple stars, but kind of weak up front, kind of unproven in a few spots. Like, it all just feels very, that's what I'm saying. This team screams 8-4 to me. Like, this is such an 8-4 looking team.
It honestly doesn't even scream 8-4. It's just we already talked about that schedule, but Richard Davis, let's go Gators. He loves everything that we are doing. I mean, hey, there's some complaints about the practice stuff with Lagaway, him not practicing in the scrimmage at all. But I mean, I think there's some explanations of that. But get back here. I mean, is there really anything even else to talk about with this Tennessee team? Like, there's nothing that stands out.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing that's like, as you said, there's nothing that's like, oh, that's going to be horrible. But I mean, where do we see our offensive advantage? I mean, we saw it in the front 7. I think we could see it on Florida going deep and burning their safeties, especially with Lagway. I mean, because here's the thing. It's not like last year. I mean, I guess don't mind that. But, like, if Florida's going to be able to run the ball, they're going to have to bring their safeties up to help stop the run. Yeah. But then go deep and Lagway hits that 60-yard pass on him for a touchdown. I mean, I feel like I don't see us having too much trouble with this type of defense this will happen late in the season. This is the second to last game of the year. So things will change by the time we're getting here. But I feel like our offense could have a real successful day against this defense. Although this could be like a slump type of game, especially the week before Florida plays Ole Miss. I mean, we could have a chance to already have a playoff spot. If we beat Ole Miss and it's like, hey, you should beat this middling Tennessee team. Like, your playoff spot's already locked up. And then maybe they have a slump type of game against Tennessee, and maybe Tennessee's able to drag us into a dogfight type of game where we have to pull out a victory. That could happen, but on paper, looking at these rosters, I think Florida has a real favorable advantage here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Florida should be able to, if the offensive line is healthy late in the season going into this game, I think Florida should be able to run the ball. I don't want to say it will, but I think with pretty little resistance, honestly. I think that could be a big day for Jaden Baugh, and Jackson, obviously. But I think I like when I look at the Tennessee offense, like where maybe they have the advantages over Florida. Like, I don't know. I could see Joey Aguilar being annoying. I'm not sure it'll be like good, but I could see it being annoying. Florida's kind of struggled against guys that are dual threat like that at times. Under Billy, it's kind of caused some headaches. I don't think it's going to be like Marcel Reed 2.0, but I do think it'll be. I think it could be something that leads to a couple very annoying big plays. But like, maybe they can run the ball. If the offensive line is good, I expect this to be a good run game. But I also think we kind of expect that Florida's front seven is like going to be the strength of this entire roster potentially. So, I mean, maybe outside the offensive line, but like, so I don't quite see what the recipe is there for Tennessee to just control the game with the run. Like, that's, I think, I don't think these teams, I don't think there's like a huge talent gap. I think they're pretty close, honestly. I don't think Tennessee matches up particularly well against this Florida team.
No. I mean, I think like Florida has the proven players that tremendously outmatches Tennessee there with our front seven, our quarterback. I mean, our running game. Like, I think we are the better team. And getting here into our predictions, like, I could see this being like a sleeper spot, but Tennessee hasn't won in Gainesville since 2003. Unless everything's fall off the train. So at this point, I don't see Tennessee beating us this year either.
No, I don't really either. I mean, I think this is kind of one of those games where if you and I are just kind of like overshooting in terms of our confidence on this with this team, then maybe this game is pretty tough. But like, if Florida is even close to where you and I think it is, this is just, to me, like not even in the top 5 hardest games on the schedule, honestly.
No, not even close, to be honest.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could be tough, but like if this game is tough for any reasons other than just kind of like trap game reasons, then I just think Florida is not the team that we are hoping it is, because again, I think Miami's a harder, obviously Georgia and Texas are harder. I think Miami and LSU are harder. I think A&M is probably harder. You could probably argue that's harder. So, I mean, this is kind of one of those games where I just have to pick Florida, because if you're not picking Florida, to me, you're picking 7-5. You're picking 6-6 just because of what the schedule looks like.
Yep. So predicting this game, I'm predicting us to win this one. I mean, yeah, you are too here, but Michael, we are going to beat Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, and Texas A&M for the payback from last year, and everyone else is just another casualty. 12-0. That's the prediction from Michael right there. Undefeated, but hey, undefeated against Tennessee this year. Trust me on that one.
I feel pretty good about it.